you have a better understanding of what PERS is and what PERS offers. Let's get this out today and allow us to provide you with this information. One thing that I really want you to take away from this presentation on today, and that is PERS provides benefits for life towards retirees. I know you're wondering how is that possible. Well, that's possible because PERS is described and defined as a 401A governmental benefit plan, which simply means your benefits are not based on what you currently have in your account. Instead, they're based on a formula. So unlike traditional IRAs and 401k retirement plans, it uses your contributions and interest to determine what your benefits will be. PERS does not do that. By utilizing a formula, you are guaranteed to receive benefits for life. Now, I provided everyone at every table with a copy of a PowerPoint, which is an exact replica of the slides we'll be going over today, as well as a Jane Doe estimate of benefits. PERS has many resources available for its members. One resource is today's session, and another resource is our website, which is widely accessible to all our members and retirees. You can access the website by typing www.pers.ms.gov. That's www.pers.ms.gov. Our website has a lot of useful information on it. It has information regarding the various retirement plans, as well as our publications. Some of our publications include our new member handbook, our pre-retirement, as well as our service retirement guide. That's just to name a few of the documents that are listed there. We also have a forms library. And in our forms library, you will find all of the forms that are necessary for a member to make updates or changes to their account. Now, by you being an active member, you would first have to submit those documents to your agency's Human Resource Department, as they have to be certified first by your agency. Once you retire, there's no longer an agency for you to report to, so you can download and print those forms and submit them directly to PERS. Some of those forms include if you have a name change or an address change, the Form 1C, change of information. Also, we have the Form 1B, change of beneficiary. And of course, when you get ready to retire, we have the Form 9A, SRVC, pre-application for service retirement. Our financial overview provides information regarding financial investments that are made by PERS. Then we have our leadership tab, which provides information regarding our board of trustees. Finally, we have our calculator page. In our calculator page, we have a benefit calculator, which is a unique tool that is designed to allow our members to calculate their own estimate of benefits. Now today you have a Jane Doe estimate of benefits. If you're interested in knowing what your numbers look like, you can go to our calculator page, or scan the QR code that's on the screen, or there's a QR code in your packet to go to our calculator page and input the numbers that you currently have, and it will tell you what your monthly benefits will look like. At PERS, we're tasked with answering tons of questions on a daily basis, but we get two questions more than anything else. The first question is, what will my benefits be when I retire? Another question is, how much will those benefits be once I retire? Well, to answer the first questions, members can retire after they have reached the required minimum years of service, regardless to their age. So if you were hired before July 1st, 2011, you can retire for 25 years of credible service. Now, if you were hired on or after July 1st, 2011, it's required 30 years of your service before you're eligible for the retirement. Or a member can retire once they have reached the age of 60, as long as they are vested. Vesting simply means the minimum number of years required to be eligible to receive benefits at some point. By being vested, if you become injured or ill and can no longer perform your essential job duties, then you can apply for disability retirement through PERS. Another example will be if you pass away prior to retirement. Then your beneficiary can be eligible to receive survivor benefits. Depending upon when you were hired, we have two vesting periods. If you were hired prior to July 1st, 2007, you are considered vested after 4 years of service. If you were hired on or after July 1st, 2007, you're considered vested after 8 years of service. Now, since PERS is a defined governmental benefit plan, and we utilize a formula to determine your benefits, that formula considers the number of years of service you have, and it is broken down into a percentage. That percentage is what PERS calls your service credit factor. So if you look at your Jane Doe estimate for a moment, at the top of the estimate, you're going to see the name Jane Doe, her date of birth, and her anticipated date of retirement. Beneath there, you're going to see her beneficiary information. Beneath the beneficiary information, you're going to see the member account information. On the left-hand side, you're going to see the various types of service credit that you can earn. And it runs from membership all the way through refund payback. Under there, you're going to see the service credit factor. You may want to highlight this, circle it, tick it, whatever. Make note of that, because that's the first portion of the benefit formula. To the right of the service credit factor, you're going to see the average compensation. Again, you want to notate that, highlight it, tick it, circle it, whatever. That's the second portion of the benefit formula. So we take the average compensation and we multiply it by the service credit factor, and that gives us the maximum annual benefit that one can receive from PERS. Any questions so far? Now, I want to break this formula down, and I want to talk to you about the service credit factor, and then I'm going to come back and talk about the average compensation. For a member that was hired prior to July 1st, 2011, you earn 2% of your average compensation for every year that you work up to 25 years of credible service. For every year that you work over 25 years, you earn an additional 2.5%. For a member that was hired on or after July 1st, 2011, you earn 2% for every year that you work up to 30 years of credible service. 2%, 30 years is 60%. Anything over 30 years, you earn an additional 2.5% of your average compensation. Now, for members that were hired under Tier 4, and you retired prior to the age of 65 or 30 years, there's going to be an actuarial reduction in your monthly benefits. There are several different ways that you can earn credible service. This slide shows the 9 different ways that this can be done. We have membership service, accumulated unused leave, military service, out-of-state service, professional leave, non-public service, retroactive service, administrative errors, and payback of account refunds. Membership service is the main way that you will earn credible service. Membership service is simply just showing up for work on a daily basis. Based upon the number of months that you're employed, then during a full fiscal year, you earn service credit. PERS fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th. That's why on this slide, you're going to see it begin with the month of July and run through the month of June. The middle column shows the amount of service credit that is awarded monthly. The rule for that is, if you have worked for 15 days in a month and earned half of your monthly wages, then you will receive service credit in the amount of 0.0833. The right-hand column shows the amount of service credit as it accumulates and adds up. So if you have worked for 15 days in July, 15 days in August, 15 days in September. By the end of September, you'll have a quarter of a year of service. By the end of December, you'll have a half of a year of service. By the end of June, you will have 1 full year of credible service. Now, for our school teachers, if you have worked the entire school term and earned 11/12 of your contracted salary, you will receive 1 full year of service credit. Another form of credible service that we offer is accumulated unused leave. Accumulated unused leave is any personal, vacation, major medical, or sick time that has not been used while working for a PERS covered agency. So when you get ready to retire, depending upon the number of hours or days that have been certified by your agency to PERS, you can earn additional credible service. So if your employer provides you with comp time cannot be certified to PERS for additional credible service. Upon leaving a covered agency and your time is not transferable to your new job, then it is the employer's responsibility to certify your unused leave time on the PERS Form 18. If you are not sure if this has been certified to PERS, you can always contact us and we'll be more than happy to send you out a balance letter. That balance letter will have your balance on it, your tier, and any unused leave time that has been certified to PERS from previous employers. This chart here shows the accumulation of the unused leave time. On the left-hand side, it shows the total number of hours. The middle column shows the number of days that are equivalent to those hours. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the amount of service credit that is awarded for those days or hours. So if you have at least 120 hours, which is equivalent to 15 days, you will have a quarter of a year of credible service. Anywhere from 15 to 77 days, you earn a quarter of a year of credible service. It's not until you reach 624 hours, which is 78 days, that you will have a half of a year of credible service. Of course, well, for every 21 days after 78 days, you earn an additional 0.0833 of service credit. So if you look at this chart and you see 99 days, 99 days is indicative to 7 months, which is 0.5833. Now, prior to 2017, July 1st, you would still be at 6 months of service credit. But in July 1st, 2017, they changed it to where you will be receiving service credit on a monthly basis instead of quarterly basis. So you're receiving a little more time. Of course, in 204 days, you'll have 1 full year of credit. Is anyone in here familiar with House Bill 1 of 2010? Okay. Well, House Bill 1 of 2010 was set into place by legislators because prior to July 1st of 2010, members were contributing 7.25% to PERS. But beginning July 1st of 2010, your contribution rate increased to 9%. As a result of that, legislators put in place House Bill 1 of 2010, which simply states for every full year that a member works, that they will receive 1/2 day of credible service. Well, I'm sorry, 1/2 day of leave. Now let me show you how this works. Who in here has been working since at least 2010? Okay, currently since the fiscal year just ended, this is 2025. That means you will have 15 half days of leave, which by PERS is 7.5 days. So you got 7.5 days of leave sitting in PERS. All right, so the way this would work is say for instance that you were short a quarter of a year from being eligible to retire now. So you have 24.75 years of service, and you need a quarter. But you only have 8 days with your employer. Because you have 7.5 days sitting at PERS, those 8 days you have from your employer and those 7.5 days you have for PERS, which is statutory leave days, that gives you those 15 days to make you have 25 years of service. So now you're eligible to retire. Now these days cannot be used to receive payment for. They're not going to show up any documents until you get ready to retire. Once you've done your 9A and it's been submitted to PERS, then those days will be calculated into your leave that you already had. You cannot be paid for this leave time. But speaking of leave pay, if you're eligible to receive payment for leave, then the most that you can be paid for is up to 240 hours, which is equivalent to 30 days. Now you will first want to check with your employer to make sure that they will pay you for this unused leave time, because not every employer pays a member for their unused leave time. Our licensed school personnel will be paid at the substitute teacher rate of pay. Our non-licensed school personnel will be paid at the federal minimum wage rate of pay. All other employees are paid at their current rate of pay. If you are an elected official, you cannot receive a lump sum leave payment while working in that position. Anyone in here serving in the military? Thank you for your service. If you have ever been federally activated into the armed forces, then you can receive up to 4 years of credible service at no cost to you. The only thing you have to do is invest it in PERS first and submit a copy of your DD-214 to PERS. And again, you can receive up to 4 years of credible service at no cost to you. Now, under military service, we also have another form which is called USERA. You can purchase up to 5 years of credible service under USERA. You don't have to be vested in order to do that. It's the only plan that PERS have that you don't have to be vested in order to purchase time. And if you ever had your employment interrupted due to you being called to active duty, the only thing you have to do is return to the previous employer within 90 days of termination from that military service and submit a copy of your DD-214. Now, of course, that DD-214 must show an honorable discharge. Another form of credible service that we offer is our out-of-state service. Our out-of-state service is anyone who's ever worked in a public or a non-federal job in another state. So, for example, if you've ever worked as a teacher in the neighboring state of Louisiana or Alabama, and you left there and came to the state of Mississippi, you could purchase that time that you worked in that other state, but you can only purchase up to 5 years of credible service. If you're interested in this, you would have to complete the PERS Form 19, our out-of-state public employment certification form. That form has 4 sections on it. Section 1, you the member will complete. Section 2, your current employer will complete. Section 3, the previous employer will complete. And Section 4, the previous retirement plan will complete. You submit that information to PERS. We send you out a cost schedule to let you know how much it costs to purchase that time. And you can purchase up to 5 years of credible service to go with your service time that you have at PERS. Next, we have professional leave. Professional leave refers to any approved leave that is performed without pay with a public institutional agency of this state or another state or a federal agency. So let's consider the fact that someone works for an agency that where you have to go and do some research, such as UMMC. They take professional leave from UMMC. They travel to Washington, D.C. They perform that research. Again, you're not being paid because it's leave without pay. Once they have completed their research, they return back to their job at UMMC. Now they're eligible to purchase up to 2 years of service within a 10-year time frame. Then we have our non-covered service. And our non-covered service refers to anyone that's working a position that is not currently covered by PERS, and they leave that position and they come to PERS, they're eligible to purchase up to 10 years. And it includes service as an employee of any political subdivision or instrumentality of the state, which does not participate in PERS, or which currently participates in PERS but did not elect retroactive coverage, or for which coverage of the employee's position was or is excluded by the joint agreement. Let me give you an example of this one. Say, for instance, someone is an older person or a mayor in a small town, and that town is not covered by PERS. So if that town is not covered by PERS, of course the town is not paying in, and you as the member are not paying in. Once your terms are up as that elected official, you leave that position, and you go to work for MDOT, which is covered under PERS. Once you become vested at MDOT, that time that you worked in that non-covered position in that small town as the elected official, you're now eligible to purchase that time. And you can purchase up to 10 years of credible service. Next we have retroactive service. Retroactive service refers to a member being able to purchase all of the time that they have worked with this agency prior to this agency becoming a part of PERS. And it includes service as an employee of any political subdivision or instrumentality of the state, which is currently under PERS and effective retroactive coverage. What this means is, if you started working in a position that was not under PERS, and then that agency decided that they wanted to become a part of PERS, they signed their joiner agreement. And the joiner agreement is just a contract between the agency and PERS. In that joiner agreement, they elected retroactive coverage. So if you worked for this company for 12 years prior to them deciding to become a part of PERS, once you became vested at that agency now, since it's becoming a part of PERS, say vesting was 4 years. Okay, you already worked 12 years. If you purchased those 12 years, you now have 16 years instead of just those 4 years. Then we have administrative errors. This doesn't happen much, but it does happen. It refers to is a failure to report or underreport employees in covered positions. If this should happen, it is the employees as well as employers' responsibility to pay those missed contributions and interest. Then we have payback of account refunds. This refers to anyone who has previously refunded or withdrawn their account from PERS. If you have done this, then you can purchase that time back at any time that you return to a PERS covered agency. The only thing you would need to do in order to find out how much that will be is to contact PERS and ask for a refund payback cost letter. That letter will show you how much it will cost to purchase that entire refund, as well as quarterly increments, which is the smallest amount that you could purchase. Now, you don't have to purchase that entire refund back, but you can purchase back as much as you would like. Keep in mind that you will be responsible for the amount of that refund, plus compounded interest that is charged for each year from the date of that refund. Now, those are the 9 different ways that you can earn credible service. All right, there any questions? Now we're going to talk about the average compensation. The average compensation is comprised of your 4 highest years of your salary. It can be your 4 highest calendar years, your 4 highest fiscal years, or a combination of both of those, as long as they do not overlap. It can also include a lump sum leave payment from the employer, if applicable. At the bottom of this slide, you will see how that's computed. We take your 4 highest years, plus that leave payment, if you're eligible to receive one, and we divide that by 4. And that gives us your average compensation. This next slide shows Ms. Doe's 4 highest years. It will be the calendar year of 2029, 30, 32. She was also eligible to receive a lump sum leave payment. We took all of those numbers and we added them up together and we divided by 4. Her average compensation came out to be $31,965. So we know that she had 27.75 years of service. We know that she had at least 15 unused leave days because she earned an additional quarter of a year. There was no military service purchase. There was no out-of-state service purchase. So her service credit came out to be 28 years. So if you look back at her January estimate, you'll see how we took the first 25 years and we multiplied it by 2%. And that gave us 50% of her average compensation. The remaining 3 years we multiplied by 2.5%. And that gave us 7.50%. So for 28 years, her service credit factor came out to be 57.50%. Looking back at her estimate of benefits, you'll see how we took her average compensation and we multiplied it by her service credit factor to get her maximum annual benefit allowance. So if you look at midways of her estimate, at the bottom you'll see basic options on the left, and you'll see her member annual amount, and to the column to the right, you'll see the maximum amount, and the way we got the maximum amount, the monthly amount, we simply divided by 12. Any questions on the benefit form? Now in retirement, you will be given 7 options to choose from. Regardless to which option you choose, just as I stated at the beginning of this presentation, you are guaranteed to receive benefits for life. Now you're going to hear me use terms such as pop up or pop down, which is simply a recalculation of your benefits. PERS offers single life annuities, joint and survivor annuities, and we offer a guaranteed payment period. Our single life annuities include the maximum retirement allowance and option 1. Our joint and survivor annuities include option 2, option 3, option 4, and option 4A. Our guaranteed payment period includes option 4B. And I'm going to go through each one of these options, one at a time, so you get a better understanding of it. So if you look at Ms. Gold's estimate, it will help you understand these options as well. The first option is the maximum retirement allowance. The maximum retirement allowance allows for members to receive the most from PERS annually upon retiring and selecting this option. You pass away. Whatever is left in your contributions and interest, your beneficiary will receive a lump sum check. Now, this is not a continuation of benefits for the beneficiary, as benefits will cease upon the death of the retiree. Now, I want you to know that under this plan, single life annuity, if you choose this option, your benefits are coming out of your contributions and interest at a dollar-to-dollar rate. So by doing that, your contributions and interest will only last approximately 3, maybe 4 years, depending on the person. Now, there are no restrictions on naming a beneficiary. You can name a person, an estate, an organization, or a trust. Beneficiaries can be changed at any time by the retiree. And if you should happen to marry after selecting this option, then you can pop down to option 2, 4, or 4A to provide protection for your spouse. And if you elect to do this, this election must be done no later than 1 year from the date of marriage. The next option is option 1. Option 1 is similar to the maximum retirement allowance, except for it is a prorated single life annuity. It is similar in the fact that upon passing, after selecting this option, your beneficiary will receive a lump sum check of whatever is left in your contributions and interest. It's also similar in the fact that there are no restrictions on naming the beneficiary. Again, you can name a person, an estate, an organization, or a trust. Beneficiaries can be changed at any time. And if you marry after selecting this option, you can pop down to option 2, 4 or 4A to provide benefits for your spouse. Now, it differs in two ways. The first way it differs is your monthly benefits are slightly reduced. So if you look at your Jane Doe estimate, you'll see that her monthly benefits under option 1 are about $11 less than they are under the maximum retirement allowance. It also differs in the fact that because it's a prorated single life annuity, that you are receiving contributions from your employer as well as your contributions. So you will not have exhausted your contributions and interest until about maybe 6 to 8 years instead of the 3 to 4 years. It tends to last a little longer to stretch it out. Now those are our single life annuities. Are there any questions? Next, we have our joint and survivor annuities, which include option 2. And option 2 states 100% joint and survivor annuity for one beneficiary. Upon the death of the retired member, the designated beneficiary is entitled to receive 100% of the same monthly benefit for life, except otherwise noted by the IRS. Now, the IRS has this nasty IRC 401A9 code that's attached to this option, which simply means that if your beneficiary is not your spouse, and if there's an age difference greater than 10 years, your monthly benefits will be slightly reduced based on the age difference between you and the beneficiary. So if you're trying to name your children, your grandchildren, your nieces and nephews, do know that your monthly benefits will be reduced based on that age difference. Beneficiaries cannot be changed at any time. Well, beneficiaries cannot be changed under this option. And you can only name one beneficiary, which must be your person. If the designated beneficiary dies, or if the named beneficiary is your spouse and there is a divorce decree, then you can pop up to the maximum retirement allowance. The next option we have is option 3. Option 3 states 100% joint and survivor annuity for 2 beneficiaries. Upon the death of the retired member, designated beneficiaries are entitled to receive or split the same monthly benefits that the retiree was receiving. And if you look at this closely, you'll see that that nasty IRC revenue code is still attached to this option. Now, there are restrictions on naming a beneficiary. You must name 2 beneficiaries. Each must be a person. Beneficiaries may not be changed at any time. If one beneficiary dies, the remaining beneficiary will receive 100% of the monthly benefit for life. Benefits cease upon the death of the retiree and both beneficiaries. The next option we have is option 4. Option 4 states 75% joint and survivor annuity for one beneficiary. We're back to name one beneficiary here. It states upon the death of the retired member, the designated beneficiary is entitled to receive 75% of the same monthly benefit for life. Now, you notice that IRC revenue code is no longer attached. So whomever you name as a beneficiary, regardless of their age, they're entitled to receive 75% of the same monthly benefit that the retiree was receiving. There are restrictions on naming a beneficiary. You must name only one beneficiary, and that beneficiary must be a person. Beneficiary may not be changed. If the designated beneficiary dies, or if the named beneficiary is your spouse and there's a divorce decree, then you can pop up to the maximum retirement allowance. Then we have option 4A, which states 50% joint and survivor annuity for one beneficiary. Upon the death of the retired member, the designated beneficiary is entitled to 50% or half of the same monthly benefit for life. There are restrictions on naming a beneficiary. You must name one beneficiary, and the beneficiary must be a person. Beneficiary may not be changed. If the designated beneficiary dies, or if the named beneficiary is your spouse and there is a divorce decree, you can pop up to the maximum retirement line. The last option we have is option 4B. Now, option 4B works differently from the other options that I just spoke about. The way it works is upon the death of the retired member, the designated beneficiary is entitled to receive benefits for the remainder of the selected period. And you can select from periods of 10 years, 15 years, or 25 years, which begin from your effective date of retirement. Let me give you an example of this. If you retire and you select option 4B, 10 years, you live in retirement for 2 years, your beneficiary, and you pass away, then your beneficiary will receive benefits for the remaining 8 years. Once those 8 years are up, benefits will cease. Now on the flip side, if you choose option 4B, 10 years, you live past those 10 years, there's no benefits for your beneficiary. Now there are no restrictions on naming a beneficiary. You can name a person, an estate, an organization, or a trust. You can have multiple beneficiaries. Beneficiaries can be changed at any time. Again, I want you to notice this IRC revenue code. But this time, it is based on the age of the retiree. So, the IRS has this thing that says you cannot select a plan that exceeds your life expectancy that is set forth by the IRS. So if you retire at the age of 67, according to the IRS, your life expectancy is only 19.4 years. So you would not be able to select option 4B 20 years because your life expectancy is less than 20 years. Now I don't know about you, but for me they just told me that I can't live past a certain age. Now we're going to review changing the options and the beneficiaries. Under the maximum in option 1, if you select this option after retirement, then you can, if you get married after selecting this option, then you can pop down to option 2, 4, or 4A to provide money benefits for your spouse. Under option 2, 4, and 4A, if your beneficiary dies or if your named beneficiary is your spouse and there's a divorce decree, then you can pop up to the maximum retirement line. You cannot change your option under option 3 or 4B. Changing your beneficiaries. Under the maximum, option 1 and option 4B, you can change beneficiaries at any time. If the designated beneficiary dies, the retiree should notify PERS immediately and complete the form 1B, beneficiary designation. Under option 2, 4, and 4A, beneficiaries cannot be changed. In the event of the death of the named beneficiary or the divorce of the spousal beneficiary, then the member can pop up to the maximum retirement line. You cannot change your beneficiaries at all under option 3. Now that brings me to the partial lump sum option, or the PLSO. The partial lump sum is for members that are retiring from PERS for the very first time. Only those members can receive the partial lump sum. So if you're eligible for retirement and you're eligible to receive the partial lump sum when you retire, yet you opt not to take it, then you say, well, I'm going to go back to work and work maybe 2 years and go back into retirement. Well, you still can't take that partial lump sum because it's only available for members that are retiring for the very first time. If you're striving to retire in disability retirement, you will not be eligible for a partial lump sum. Depending upon when you were hired will determine when you are eligible for a partial lump sum. So if you were hired on or before June 30th, 2011, you become eligible after 28 years of service. So that's why a lot of people say 28 years is the magic number because they won't be eligible for that partial lump sum. If you were hired on or after July 1st, 2011, you become eligible after 33 years of credible service. Now, if you're under Tier 1 and were hired prior to June 30th, 2007, then you are eligible for the partial lump sum if you're at the age of 63 with at least 4 years of credible service. Now, if you look at the Jane Doe estimate on the second page, you'll see the partial lump sum options. The partial lump sum is equal to 12, 24, or 36 months paid in advance and still be eligible to receive monthly benefits for life. There's two things I want you to take away from this regarding the partial lump sum. That is, the greater the amount you elect to receive for the partial lump sum, the greater the amount that your monthly benefits will be reduced. The main thing, or the most important thing that I want you to remember about the partial lump sum is if you're eligible to receive it and you tell PERS to send that check directly to you at your home address, the federal government has mandated PERS to withhold 20%. Now, if you're under the age of 55 when you retire, then an additional 10% penalty can be imposed on you when you file your taxes. And that's the age of 50 for emergency workers. Now, in order to defer those taxes, then you can roll your partial lump sum over into Mississippi Deferred Compensation or qualifying IRA. And that brings me to talking about the cost of living, or the COLA, which is most affectionately known by our members as the 13th check. Now, this is not a 13th check, as it is not a bonus check and does not reflect your monthly benefits. It is a check that PERS provides its members to help offset the cost of living. I want to dispel some rumors. A lot of members seem to think that you have to be a certain age or have worked a certain amount of years in order to be eligible to receive the COLA. That is false. You only have to be retired for one full state fiscal year in order to be eligible to receive the COLA. And when does PERS fiscal year begin? July 1st. And it ends when? So you have to be retired for one full state fiscal year. So if you retire at the end of the school year, for teachers it's June 1st, as long as you have been retired by July 1st of that for that new fiscal year. So if you retire at the end of 2026, which is June 1st, then your fiscal year will begin July 1st of 2026 and run through June 30th of 2027. So in December of 2027, you'll be eligible to receive your COLA, unless you elect to take it monthly. Now, the partial lump sum is available in a lump sum, which is dispersed each December around the 15th. Now, you can, once you become eligible, elect to take it as monthly installments, 12 equal monthly installments, which will be added to your monthly benefits. But once you decide you want it in 12 equal monthly installments, you cannot go back and get it in a lump sum. So you can start out receiving it in a lump sum, and once it has grown substantially, and you want to alleviate some of the taxes that are on it, you can divide it up into 12 equal monthly installments. But if you start off in installments, you cannot go back and get it in a lump sum. The COLA is equal to an additional 3% of your annual benefit for each full state fiscal year of retirement. Now, your annual benefit, it will be on your estimate. So if you look at Ms. Doe's estimate, you'll see her annual amount. The COLA is based off of that annual amount. Your annual amount does not change. Even if you decide you want to receive it monthly, your annual amount does not change from what is on your estimate. So the first year is going to be 3%. Then it's going to increase the next time to 6%, then 9%, then 12%. It will increase each year by 3%. There's no cap on the amount that you receive for COLA. Now, at some point, it's going to begin to compound. Compounding means just a little bit extra added to that simple 3% rate. So, if you were hired prior to July 1st, 2011, it compounds at the age of 55. If you were hired on or after July 1st, 2011, it compounds at the age of 60. So the first year of retirement is going to be 3% regardless to whether it's compounded or simple. The next year under the compounded rate is going to be 6.09%. Then the following year is gonna be 9.12%, and then it's gonna continue to increase. You can find the chart that I'm referring to on page 63 of our member handbook. And it will give you the simple as well as the compounded rates. Now that leads me talking about disabilities. Now that I talked about the benefits that are available at the time of retirement, I want to take a step back and talk about the benefits that are currently available to you. If you become injured or ill and can no longer perform your essential job duties, then you can apply for disability retirement under PERS. It offers the same options as service retirement except for the partial lump sum. And it is not available for members that have already started receiving service retirement benefits. At PERS, we have two disability plans. We have our age-limited plan and our tiered disability plan, which most of the members are on tiered. If you're injured outside of work, that is considered a non-job duty related injury. You must be vested first in order to apply for disability benefits. If you're injured on the job, that is a duty-related injury. There's no vesting time or age requirement in order to apply for disability. But regardless of whether it is duty-related or non-duty-related, you must first be approved by PERS Medical Board in order to receive benefits under disability. Survivor benefits. If you've ever wondered what would happen to your benefits, if you passed away prior to retirement, then this will help you understand it a little bit better. For our non-vested members, if you pass away prior to retirement, your beneficiary will receive a lump sum check of your contributions and interest. For our vested members, if you are married for 1 year or more and have dependent children, then they will receive monthly benefits. Your spouse will receive monthly benefits for the remainder of his or her life. And your dependent children will receive benefits as long as they are considered dependents. Now, they are considered dependents up until the age of 19, or even the age of 23, as long as they are single and full-time students. If you're not married, don't have a dependent child or children, no beneficiary, then a lump sum check will be paid out according to law, which simply means your next of kin. If you're killed on the job, benefits coverage begins on the very first day, and your spouse and dependent children are eligible to receive monthly benefits. That leads me to talking about the advanced application. The advanced application is for members that are currently eligible to retire but wish to continue working. What it does is it puts your wishes in writing as what you want her to do in case you pass away prior to the time that you retire. So if a member is currently eligible for retirement and they wish to continue working, let me give you some examples as to why you may consider completing the advanced application or Form 16. So you're eligible for retirement, you're eligible for the partial lump sum, and you would like for your beneficiary to receive that partial lump sum if you pass away prior to retirement. That may be the reason you consider completing that advanced application. Another example is if you don't have any dependent children and you want your adult child to receive benefits for the remainder of his or her life, you may consider completing the advanced application. My last example is consider the fact that you may be married and separated, not divorced, but separated. And you know with divorce decree, you can change your options, whatever. But separation is not honored by PERS. But if you have completed the advanced application, whomever you name as your beneficiary, doesn't have to be your spouse, will receive benefits. That leads me to talking about the monthly payroll. Direct deposit is mandatory for all retiring members. Even though your first and possibly your second benefit payment from PERS will be a paper check and mailed directly to you. That's because the act of endorsing and cashing your benefit acts as confirmation that you accept the terms of retirement from PERS. When you retire, you'll be given some forms to complete. Federal taxes are withheld from your monthly benefits based on the option you choose on those forms. Under Mississippi, as long as you reside in the state of Mississippi, you're not going to be subject to the Mississippi state income taxes. But if you decide to relocate from the state of Mississippi after you retire, you may want to check with that state's income tax department to see if you will be liable for income tax on your monthly benefits. If you have a state health, state life insurance plan, they can be deducted from your monthly benefits. Or any other PERS sponsored insurance can be deducted from your monthly benefits. If you don't have state health or state life insurance, then PERS offers other health and life insurance, such as our retiree medical insurance for our Medicaid eligible retirees, which is administered by Transamerica Premier Life, and the Senior Term Life, which is administered by Security and Financial. Now, if you have state health and state life, and you want to keep your state health and state life after you retire, you will need to let your agency know within 31 days of termination that you want to keep that. Otherwise, when it lapses, you cannot go back and pick it up. Reemployment. Now, we know that we just talked about retirement. So why would I be able to talk about reemployment? That's because some of you may want to go back to work after retirement. If you do, it is mandatory that you take a 90 consecutive calendar day break after you retire, which is effective from your date of retirement. Even if you want to go back as an independent contractor, you are subject to the 90-day separation period. For our school teachers, your 90 days does not begin until the next school term begins. So the school term is about to begin this month, at the end of this month. Your 90 days will begin counting from 90 days from there. After you have satisfied that 90-day waiting period, there are two options you can choose from within provisions that allows you to go back and work and it not hamper your retirement benefits. The first option is you can work up to half of the time and earn up to half of the pay of one full-time equivalent position. So, for example, if you come back to work as a teacher and that position pays $60,000 a year, then you can earn up to $30,000 in half that time. The other option is that there's no limit on the amount of time you work, but you are limited to 25% of your average compensation at the time of retirement. Regardless of which option you select, you must complete the PERS Form 4B, and it must be on file within 5 days of employment. If you wish to continue working the job annually, that Form 4B must be filed with PERS on July 1st to continue working. As an independent contractor, you're not subject to any reemployment provisions except for the 90-day separation period. And before you start working, we ask that you complete the employee versus independent contractor questionnaire. That is so that PERS can determine if that position is truly an independent contractor position. Because if not, you have to go back and complete the Form 4B. If you retire as an elected official and you are at the age of 59 and a half, there's no separation period. You can continue on working. But you are limited to 25% of your average compensation at the time of retirement. And your employee must complete the Form 9C. Now, the Critical Teacher Shortage Reemployment Act, or House Bill 765, under Mississippi Code 2511-126, it allows for retired teachers to be reemployed as full-time teachers in critical shortage areas. Now, there are some stipulations to that. You may earn up to 125% of the salary schedule based on experience. The example is, so if that job is paying $60,000, $125% of that is $75,000. Now, you're only gonna receive half of that, which is $37,500. The other half will be paid by the employer through PERS. You must have at least 30 years of credible service in order to return. You are limited to only 5 years under the critical shortage. And if you start working under the critical shortage, you cannot go back and complete the Form 4B. If you start under the 4B, you cannot go back you cannot go to the critical shortage. And you still are required that 90-day separation period. That brings me to applying for retirement. Applying for retirement at PERS is a 2-step process. We ask that you begin this process 3 to 6 months prior to your anticipated date of retirement. The first thing you will need to do is go to your agency's HR department and complete the Form 9A SRVC. You will fill out the first 4 sections, and the employer will fill out section 5. Once they have completed that, they will submit it to PERS. It is okay for you to contact PERS once they tell you they have submitted it to PERS to ensure we have your 9A. Because in the world of digital and electronics, we may or may not have received it. I would hate for it to be floating around in the cloud and you haven't received it, and you're thinking your process is already almost done. And you're calling to find out what your step 2 is, and we haven't received your 9A. But from the time we receive your 9A at PERS, you are assigned a case analyst. That analyst begins the audit process on your account. Once that audit has been completed, it is sent to our quality assurance department to be double checked. Once QA has finished it, you will be sent out a step 2 packet, which has some additional forms in that step 2 packet along with your final estimate of benefits. We strongly urge that you make copies of those forms that are in your step 2 packet, as these are the only forms that are not on our website because they are barcoded with your personal information. The forms that will come along with your final estimate will be the Form 9S, the final application for service retirement, the Form 9P, payroll authorization, and the IRS Form W4P, your withholding certificate for periodic pensions. Now, if you're eligible to receive a partial lump sum, you will also have the Form PLSO, along with the IRS Form W4R. Keep in mind that these forms and documents are due back to PERS within 90 days from your effective date of retirement. If we don't receive them back in 90 days from your effective date of retirement, the retirement process is canceled and you have to start all over again. PERS has many resources available. Don't forget to visit our website to see the latest information from our executive director. Use our online calculator or just review our information. PERS offers other educational resources, such as our full-day seminars, which are held all across the state of Mississippi. And we have speakers such as estate planning, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Social Security, Mississippi First Comp, as well as PERS, to speak at those functions. We also have focus sessions which are held weekly in our building on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. On Wednesday, it's virtual from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. And it's a small group session that offers an individualized estimate of benefits. Now, today has been a PERS on the move. And again, I thank Forest County for inviting us out to provide this. We also have early career and new employee seminars and employer trainings which are held at various sites throughout the state of Mississippi at the request of the employer. To review what our focus sessions look like, you can scan the QR code that's on the screen or in your packet. And that will take you to our YouTube channel, and you can see what our focus sessions are about. If you don't have time to sign up and come to one, you can see what a focus session is. Don't forget to subscribe to our e-updates. By subscribing to our e-updates, you receive up-to-date information from our board of trustees or anytime there are changes made at PERS. Another great resource we have is our customer call center. We're available Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We can be reached at 601-359-3589, or you can email us at customerservice@pers.ms.gov. And that's the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
So most people in here work, a lot of people work in another district. Some people have just worked in AHS. But let's say I work in another district. How can I guarantee, who should I call? Should I call that district? Should I call PERS to see if my days that I had there got sent to PERS at the end when I left that employee?
First thing you want to do is start with PERS. You're gonna call PERS, request a balance letter. We're gonna send you out that balance letter. On that balance letter, at the top on the right-hand side, you're gonna see certified unused leave days. If it says 0, they did not submit them. Then they will contact their previous district for them to submit that unused leave time on the Form 18.
Is there ever, if we missed a window or it's too late for that? Like, is there a 10-year cutoff period or 15-year? Or as long as they have it on file, they can send it to PERS?
As long as they have it on file, they can send it to PERS. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to clarify, because someone told me about it a few years ago, maternity leave doesn't count towards your 15 days that you need to contribute each month. I mean, like, it'll mess that up, so you can't contribute 15 days each month, right? So, I don't work 30 years, I work whatever to.
It depends. That's a good question. Now, it depends whether maternity leave can mess with your service credit. If you have enough time for you to use and still get paid at least half of your monthly wages, that would be time served as working 15 days. So if you have at least 30 days, I'm gonna throw out a number. If you have at least 3 months of unused leave time while you're out on maternity leave,
Right.
and you take only 3 months, each one of those months, as long as you're still making that same wage that you was making,
Oh, it was covered by your days.
correct.
Yeah.
Now, if you didn't have enough time, then
Yeah.
it's gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Turning you over to Mississippi Fur Company.